Hello, Montrose, and welcome to our conversation series and podcast, Motown Knows. I'm Justin Tubbs, the managing editor at the Montrose Daily Press. Tonight, our focus turns toward the night sky and the lights that prevent us from really seeing it. Light pollution is defined as excessive or poor use of artificial outdoor light. And the dark sky movement is made up of people that want to change our lighting to improve our communities, improve our ecosystem health and safety, and to save energy and maybe most importantly, to see the stars at night. The movement officially began in Flagstaff, Arizona, which became the first international dark sky place in 2001. And after that, over 30 cities have since become dark sky places, including locally Ridgeway, Colorado. And to learn more about what goes into the dark sky designation and what the effort looks like in the Western Slope, we are joined by Lori Rome, the Chief of Interpretation at Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. We also have Brian Cashin, President of the Black Canyon Astronomical Society. And we have Aaron Watson, Director of Dark Skies Paonia and Chair of International Dark Sky Association's Colorado chapter. Thank you all for joining us today. And before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, Delta Montrose Electric Association. And if you wanted to ask any questions or leave comments, log on to Nabur, that's nabur.montrosepress.com, post them there, and we'll be sure to answer. So we're going to jump right into it. And I'm going to start with you, Aaron. Why become a dark sky place? What's important about that, and how does it benefit communities?
Well, yeah, thanks, Justin. It's great to be here. So the dark sky certification is actually a really rigorous process. And what it does is it helps, it shows that there's an exceptional dedication to dark skies and to reducing light pollution in that area. And so that's the main reason to become a dark sky place, is to show that you've taken these steps to become certified and to show this exceptional dedication. And that includes, you need to do things like have shielded lighting, have color temperatures below 3000 Kelvin, have outreach events, and just show a wide range of support in your community for dark skies. And, it's really makes your town beautiful. It's really good for the health and well-being of the residents, and you can see the sky. And becoming certified puts you on the map of dark sky places around the world. Right now, there's 15 certified places in Colorado. We are one of the leaders in the United States, and so becoming certified, you can join this group of towns where you can still see the stars.
Nice. Lori, you work with National Park Service. What benefit does having dark skies have for visitors to the parks?
Well, the benefit of dark skies extends beyond visitors to the park. It extends to the resource themselves, and that is the purpose of national parks: preserve and protect cultural natural resources for people today and people of the future. And those dark skies, I'd say, protect both. I think folks are pretty aware of the value of dark skies to wildlife species in functioning and behaving normally in a healthy habitat. But then for visitors, they get a chance to see the park in a more natural state, pre-industrialization, perhaps with an ability to see things like the Milky Way and stars and constellations. We have seen a massive interest in the public to visit places that promote dark skies. So it's very popular.
Nice. Brian, as if you're an astronomer, whether professional or hobbyist, obviously dark skies are better. We all know that. But what are some of the tangible differences, maybe sightseeing and looking at the stars in a dark skies community versus somewhere with a lot of light pollution?
Well, I think one of the main things is just what we call the wow factor. And every time you saw an adult or even an 8-year-old child Saturn with its rings through a telescope, the most common word in the world is wow. And the same thing can happen when you show almost anything in the night sky. I've had people say, "What's that cloud up there? I thought this was supposed to be a dark place." And I tell them that's not a cloud. That's actually the Milky Way. That's hundreds of millions of stars that you can't see unless you're at a really dark place. Just take a chance to. You've asked me about being an astronomer, but dark skies benefit much more than astronomers. They're important, as Lori mentioned, for wildlife, for insect life. They're important for human health. There's many, many studies that have been done on the vast benefits that result from controlling light pollution.
Absolutely. Aaron, just getting into the movement a little bit, what should a dark sky novice know about it? What does the movement look like in 2022? Where is it at? And how are communities jumping on it?
Yeah, so right now, the kind of the best thing you can do is join the International Dark Sky Association and become a member. And the reason is because we have a global network of advocates. And so every month we have a global advocates meeting, and just the amount of resources and information you can learn about the movement is amazing. There's so much going on across the world and even here in Colorado. Um, Another thing, if you're an aspiring dark sky person, the best thing you can do too is start at home. You can look at your lights around your house and make improvements to those, add shielding, change out your bulbs, stuff like that. Yeah, and here's a picture of shielding. So, make sure that the lights are pointed down and they're not shining up out into the sky or horizontally, so that, you're using it where exactly you need it.
So you start at a sort of individual level, helping your community in that way. What does the International Dark Sky Association do to sort of help with resources, and if communities, want to get involved more? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so we have a whole certification process, and there's staff at the IDA and volunteers who can help you go through the process. So the certification process isn't easy. There's a number of guidelines you have to do for your town or for your place to become certified. And the International Dark Sky Association is there to support you in that process. You need to have an application, and do all these processes. A big one is to have an ordinance in your town. That's probably one of the biggest pieces. Or if you're a public land, to have a lighting management plan. So yeah, starting out individual, and then what really works is, it is grassroots or organizations, but finding other people in your community who have a like-minded um, knack for wanting to protect the dark skies is really important. And if you can get a little group going, those citizen run initiatives really help kind of guide the process, because a lot of municipalities don't have a lot of time or resources themselves. So if you can get some volunteers in your community, that really helps the process go.
Absolutely. Do you have any specific examples maybe of communities that have sort of gotten that movement off the ground, and maybe what were some of the successes and challenges that they had?
Yeah, well, I can speak from my own experience. I live in Paonia, Colorado, and we have a movement here in Paonia and we're working on making Paonia a certified dark sky town. We're in the process. But for example, here, a big thing that happened was the streetlights. So DMEA was going to replace all the streetlights in town, and our group worked with the town and with DMEA to find appropriate dark sky streetlights. So we were able to get 2,700 Kelvin streetlights, which are kind of more of an amber color. And residents in the town of Paonia are fairly happy with that move. I have a lot of people, thanking our group for making that change. And the town has a kind of a better feel to it when you're there at night because of these new streetlights. So, just that was a great. We actually made a change in our town, just by showing up and advocating for dark skies. And DMEA was really great to work with, and we really appreciate their help as well.
Absolutely. Lori, can you talk a little bit about the experience at the Black Canyon of the Gunnison? just maybe from your own experience, and then talk a little bit maybe about some activities you guys have that might help promote dark skies.
Yeah, Black Canyon of the Gunnison, along with Kirikani, I should throw in Kirikani National Recreation Area and Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. They're co-managed, and so they share the same canyon system. They share the same river system, and so they share the same management team as well. Black Canyon became a dark sky park in 2015, and then Kirikani just last year in 2021. And so they're both beautifully dark places. They're both managed for darkness, meaning, as was discussed, there's a lighting management plan that directs us to do what we can to keep the skies dark. And we do outreach and we do programs. And so bring a flashlight, red filter, preferably, because it's pretty dark in both of these places. And both of them offer astronomy programs during the summertime season. And usually we start forming that schedule sometime around April, May. So do check our website and our social media for specifics. Typically what we have are nighttime campground programs with a variety of topics related to astronomy or dark skies. And in the past, we've done a whole host of astronomy focused nighttime programs, from using camera assist to project constellations and deep sky objects on a screen, to a good old fashioned laser pointer and naked eye astronomy tours, star tours, with park rangers or with the Black Canyon Astronomical Society. Same thing over at Kirikani over by Gunnison. They work with a local astronomy group to do programming as well. And so we hope people will join us now that COVID isn't as intense as it has been in the past. We hope to bring those back in a greater force.
Absolutely. So, Brian, I'm sure you've been to Black Canyon and seen some of the stars out there. What are maybe some of your favorite areas and places to get out in Colorado to sort of see the stars?
Oh, well, as Aaron mentioned, there are now 15 dark sky places in Colorado. That could include a dark sky community like Ridgway, Norwood, Natarita, Nucla are all dark sky communities here in our neck of the woods. Dark sky parks, which would be Black Canyon of the Gunnison, Kirikani Recreation Area, Great Sand Dunes over to the east. Dinosaur National Monument is going through the analysis. And then there can be, I guess, what I would call sort of semi-public parks, not necessarily federal parks or state parks, but and the one that comes to mind is Top of the Pines at Ridgway. And I have to say that's one of the darkest places I've ever been. They were designated last year, and they are a few miles to the southwest of Ridgway, and they've got a little campground there. So any of those places would be great places to go. But Western Colorado is pretty dark just in general. And so I don't think you necessarily have to go to a dark sky place to see the night sky. You will get programs if you go to some of those places, but you can go a lot of places in Western Colorado and see dark skies.
Absolutely cool. And you talked about a lot of the communities there. Paonia, for instance, Aaron was talking about, and some of these other places that are getting designations, like you mentioned, Dinosaur National Monument. So, what exactly does it look like there to sort of become a dark sky place? Not necessarily a community, but parks and outdoor areas. Do you know much about that?
Yeah, so I was involved with the designation of the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park in 2015, and it's a very rigorous process, as Aaron mentioned. It's a little bit different for parks versus communities, and that's not a surprise. The common factors are they have to be able to measure the quality of their night sky and present that to International Dark Sky Association. They have to be able to say, this is what our lighting looks like now, and this is our plan in how we're going to improve that. Or in the case of a community, this is what our ordinance is that controls what people can put in as far as lights. That can be an easy task for some parks. The Black Canyon of the Gunnison, I think, has 10 lights. Grand Canyon National Park has 10,000 lights that fall within their lighting management plan. So there's a huge spectrum there across the different national parks that they have to deal with if they want to go through the designation process.
Yeah, huge difference there. How much enthusiasm is there here in Western Colorado for dark skies? How big are the local organizations? And you know, how much do you have to talk to somebody before they get on board with the idea of let's make ourselves a dark skies community? And Brian and Aaron, you guys can both answer that.
Yeah,
I guess
maybe I'll start out.
Go ahead, Aaron.
So really, I mean, one of the best things you can do is, show someone the amazing night skies we have here in Western Colorado. And a lot of people come to me and they're like, when's the next event? When's the next time we can see the stars? So that's, one of the best ways to convince people, I think, of what we're doing is the wonder of the night skies. And, with dark skies, I realized, just with conversations with neighbors who have lights on, a lot of people just don't know. They don't really know that there's a problem with the lights and that it's causing harm to the environment. And so when I just tell people and just give them some education, most of the time they're like, "Oh, wow, I had no idea." And then they're willing to make those changes. So really the awareness aspect is, I think, the biggest thing at this point for getting people involved with dark skies.
Yeah, and Brian, how much enthusiasm is out there right now? How much have you seen?
My perspective is that it depends a lot upon the size of the population size of the community that you're dealing with. So, for example, Nucla, Natarita, Norwood, Ridgeway, Paonia, they're all small communities, and they are probably a lot more tight knit in terms of what they enjoy about their community than, say, a larger town like Montrose or Delta, or even if you were to go to Grand Junction. There is an astronomy club in Grand Junction that is trying to work with the city of Grand Junction, but they've just started that effort. Here in Montrose, we've been working kind of off and on with them over the years, and we're making some progress. And DMEA is involved in that as well, because the city will specify what lights are to be put in, and then DMEA installs them and maintains them. That's the arrangement between a municipality and between the electrical association.
Sure. What does that look like? Trying to get an electric association, involved and maybe cooperative, because that sounds like that might be a bit of a struggle.
It actually really isn't. As Aaron mentioned, DMEA was really good to work with when they went through their streetlight change out there. And of course, the buzzword that's on everybody's mind right now when it comes to lights is LEDs. And there's no question in my mind that LEDs are the right way to go in terms of energy savings. But like a lot of new technology, the technology changes rapidly. And as we learn more about it, we find out that maybe there were some things, even with LEDs, that we can do better. And DMEA is up to speed on that. It's just that they can only put in what the municipality will ask them to put in. I think DMEA is willing to do anything we want. So it really falls more on the municipality to say, this is the direction we would like to go here. And
Sure.
again, as with the lights at Grand Canyon, changing the lights out in Montrose is a much more daunting task than, say, Nucla.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that actually brings me to a question we had from one of our neighbor members. Her name is Claudia, and she talked about being really interested in dark skies designation in Montrose specifically. So what would that route look like? You said it's a little more difficult with, the larger municipalities versus, say, a Montrose County community like Nucla or Natarita over on the west end. So what do you think are the steps that need to be taken to sort of make those changes in like a Montrose or a Delta?
I would say there's probably two components to that. And the first one is going to be updating the municipal lighting ordinance. And like any regulation, that's just an ordinance that the city council puts in place that says, if you put a new light in, here are the characteristics that it has to have for that particular application. And then there has to be, of course, enforcement of an ordinance for it to have any kind of meaning. And then I think the second component would be to work with the city and with the electrical association. In our case, it would be DMEA, to perhaps test some lights like Aaron was able to get installed in Paonia, and put them in maybe on a couple blocks in Montrose. Would they go through their replacement plan here with LEDs and see what the response is to them? As a past example of that, City of Davis, California, replaced all their LEDs. This was probably 15 years ago, and they put in 4,000 K lights. These are bright white lights, and the uproar in the population was so great that the Davis had to go back and replace them all with lower temperature, more amber lights at a cost of about $500,000. So it pays to work with, all of the right team members at the outset and get things done right the first time.
Sure. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, one thing I would add that kind of makes it a little easier is that usually when you change your lights, in Paonia, we had a big energy saving associated with the light changeover. So when we switched to these low color temperature LEDs, it saved the town a bunch of money each month, which was actually huge. And those lights are going to be paid for just after a few years from the energy costs. So that's something to keep in mind as these bigger towns perhaps become certified, is that there is actually a big energy savings that could happen.
Definitely. And that's pretty much all the questions I had for you. I like at the end to sort of go around and ask everybody if they have anything they want to add. So, Aaron, anything you want to add to the conversation today?
Yeah, I'll just add, so the Gunnison Gorge National Conservation Area, just outside of Montrose, is looking at becoming a certified dark sky park, which is really exciting. And we're looking for people who can help out the effort. So some volunteers who could perhaps go and take some dark sky readings of the sky in the Gunnison Gorge. We have an event lined up March 31st for people to come out and look at the stars and get involved. So you can find information on the Western Slope Conservation Center website for this event. And I'll also put it on darkskiespaonia.com, where you can find information for March 31st. So that'd be great to have some local Montrose people come out and help out with the dark skies at Gunnison Gorge.
That's perfect. I've spent a lot of days and nights out there since I've lived in Western Colorado. I really love that area. So I didn't even know about that. So that's exciting. Lori, you have anything to add to the conversation today?
Yeah, I'd love to. We face a lot of big challenges in the world. Our climate is changing. There's political strife. I guess something about the dark skies that I find very appealing is that it probably is one of the easier pollution sources we can solve, and one of the easier things that we can reach. And it really can begin at your own house. Simply closing your curtains at night so light creep doesn't spill out onto the roadway. Changing your light bulbs to a lower Kelvin temperature and shielding them. The simple things that can be done by the individual feels really powerful when the problem can seem pretty big. And that goes for when you're visiting a national park as well. Folks might not think about it, but as they're traveling around in a national park, use that red flashlight. Or if you have a recreational vehicle or a trailer, think about turning your lights off as you go to bed at night, not leaving it all lit up, things like that. The power is literally in your hands to make an effort immediately. And so that's pretty powerful.
Perfect. Brian, anything else you'd like the listeners to know?
Yeah, let me mention 3 internet resources that they can go to. Some we've already talked about. The International Dark Sky Association website is darksky.org. It's all one word, darksky.org. And IDA Colorado has a website of their own. Is it idacolorado.xyz, Aaron?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. And then another one I want to mention is, I can't say their whole web address, but the organization is Colorado Plateaus Dark Skies Cooperative. And they cover all of Western Colorado, and of course it spills over into Utah and even some of Arizona, because it covers the, I guess you'd say, the geological formation that we call the Colorado Plateau. And they have a lot of work going on in dark skies as well. And they try to be a network among all of the different parks that fall in that area, whether they're state parks or national parks.
Perfect. A lot of good resources there. That's going to wrap up our week's episode of Motown Knows. Want to give a special thanks again to our guests, Lori Rome with Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, Aaron Watson and Brian Cashin. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And if our conversation brought up any comments or questions, again, you can head to nabur, that's nabur.montrosepress.com, and leave your comments there. And thanks again to Delta Montrose Electric Association for their continued support of our podcast and conversation series here. Motown Knows was created by myself, Justin Tubbs, as well as Josue Perez. It's edited by Sean Flannelly and Sean Fitzpatrick, and receives additional production support from Annalyn Winfrey and Cassie Canoose. Thank you.